How are you planning to make it usable and especially explain it to people? Because in 2016, we had an experiment where in one of the networks we were launching, the stable coin was tied to 1 milligram of gold. And it wasn't easy to explain it to people, even though it sounds like, oh, I mean, what's the difficult part here? Now we're talking about a basket of things, including Bitcoin, including gold, you said. How are you guys managing to explain it? I mean, bringing back mom and dad now, from the beginning of our conversation. How do they understand it?
Absolutely. So I'll actually pose a question for you. What was the name of that stablecoin?
It was GBG.
So as a word, do you think your parents know what GBG is?
I hope not, because it was a Russian audience, so they definitely didn't know what GBG was. No.
Do people know if I ask my parents what UST is as an acronym, would they IST, USK, DI, FRAX?
No, I don't think so. No, 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 no. Acronym.
Do you think they would recognize the word silk?
Well, the first thing I would think of silk would definitely not that it's tied to a basket of world currencies. I would recognize the word silk, but but I see where you're getting it, and I like it. I like it a lot.
So a lot of thought was put into this word because silk has global significance. It was involved in trade in Asia, in Europe, in Africa. Silk is something that flows. It inherently sounds smooth, kind of fast, kind of premium. And so even actually, if you look at the silk logo, it's a circle and there's a little kind of U shape in the middle of it. And silk is interesting because stablecoins have to represent stability. And so if you look at all the other stablecoins out there, you'll notice that they have jagged edges on the logo. So Silk's logo actually has to solve a problem where we're supposed to represent fluidity, but then you also need to represent stability. And so Silk has this middle section it's fixed to the outside edge and it's connecting 2 points. So it represents, a transaction, a river, a trade route in the middle. Long and short, without me falling down this rabbit hole too much, I believe that the naming component will be one of the strongest advantages of Silk. That we were brave enough and bold enough to use a word that everyone globally recognizes. You're not buying some weird 3-letter acronym. You're buying Silk. They don't need to fully understand I'm holding this very complicated basket of global currencies and commodities. I think what will happen is the first subset of users, the first 10 million people, will know, hey, I'm hedged against inflation and volatility. That's why I hold Silk. I think the next 90 million people will hold Silk because they know their friends are holding Silk. And that word gains traction. It gains, just like Bitcoin as a word gains reputation over time. How many people actually know how the internet works? But how many people use it? How many people know how Bitcoin actually works, but how many people use it? And I believe if the utility is apparent enough, if the brand is apparent enough, then after we onboard that first 10 million, it's a network effect. And network effects are the strongest thing you could ever achieve. So long and short, we still have to solve the education for that first 10 million. We still have to make it very clear what the attributes are. But I think a lot of stablecoins suffer from a brand problem. They suffer from not being attached to something in our real world that people already understand. And that's what we're really going to be leaning into. We'll see how well it works. But to your point, of course, it's an uphill battle. It's the most absurd uphill battle to create a currency from scratch and to get millions of people to trust it, get millions of people to use it. We are up to the task.